in giving a massive round of applause for two fantastically talented actors from DC's Legends of Tomorrow. Please give it up for the brilliant Victor Garber and Casper Crump.
Love the music. What is that?
I don't know, some just random theme.
My theme song.
Yeah,
it's Indiana Jones, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I
Apparently, it's what Victor walks around to all the time. Every time he walks into a room, that just plays automatically.
I always hear that music wherever I go.
Spontaneous.
And the Titanic track.
And what?
Da, 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 da. You were on that one, right?
Oh, that one.
On the sinking ship, you remember?
Yes, I remember. I remember.
And this is a sinking spaceship, so whatever.
Yeah. Hello, all you lovely people. Thank you for coming today. How are you?
So it's nice to be cheered by a room full of people on a Sunday
afternoon, isn't it? It must be kind of refreshing. Nothing better, really. It's like being home.
This is really good.
So for both of you then, when did
you first hear about Legends? And I mean, because of course we saw you on The Flash for a while, Victor, and then when did you kind of find out that they were going to do Legends and you'd be a part of it? And Casper, how did you kind of get involved with it from that point on?
Well, I was asked to do The Flash, to play Martin Stein, Firestorm, and I was paired with Robbie Amell, who was a friend of mine, and Greg Berlanti, who created the show, was someone I'd worked with, and I didn't know anything about this world that you all know about, and I was introduced to it, and I thought this would be a new chapter in my life, and so I said yes to that, and then after we did about 4 episodes of The Flash, I started getting word about the possibility of doing Legends of Tomorrow. And then I decided I would continue on and do that. And Robbie decided he didn't want to, and so
then we found friends who took over that role, and then here we are.
I got auditioned. David Rappaport auditioned me for a few different parts, including
Rachel for Arrow. And me thinking that, hey, that could be a possibility, and I went all in and did all that, and I found out later that all these auditions had just been to see what I was capable of for the Vandal Savage part. And I didn't know. He told me later, when I got the part, he said, we were actually just trying you out because we had this in the pipeline that we knew that you could do. So that's how I got involved. The worst audition I ever did, I think, for Vandal Savage. I was at home in my apartment shooting it on my phone. The guy helping me, he canceled on me, so I had to call up my neighbor. I had to pick up my daughter 20 minutes later, and I had to send this audition over. I called up my neighbor.
He's never done anything like it, like queuing or filming or. So I said, all right, so you just point the camera at me and you say the words. And he thought that Vandal Savage was French. I don't know why, but every time he, so Vandal Savage, what do you? And I was like, no, this is not working out. He's not French. You gotta say Vandal Savage.
He just kept on saying it. And in the middle of the take, there was a brass band outside of my window. I don't know, a funeral or something. It was just like
people playing. And we were trying to get this take done. So in the end, I just said, oh, all right, screw it. Huh?
Good. I know.
No, yeah.
I told him not to swear.
He told me not to say the word. So I said, screw it. And
you're welcome.
And I just sent it over to David and the team.
And they called me back a few days later, and here I am. Very privileged. And one of the things that certainly from our fan point of view, watching Legends, it seems to be that there's a lot of think it's a great set to work on. There seems to be quite a nice rapport built amongst certainly all the recurring cast, and then for you to come aboard as well. How is that to play off? I mean, does that help you guys having a really close family kind of on set?
Did you have a close family on set?
I don't care for you personally.
Well, and it shows. It really shows.
I'll just say, it's very hard for someone to walk onto a show where everybody's, has been hired as a part of a team, and then Casper comes on, not really knowing anybody, and we don't know him. But it is a very welcoming set, and everybody supports each other, and you hear stories about shows that aren't that way, and I've been on a couple, but this is not like that at all.
No.
It's very, very comfortable, and it's long hours, it's hard work. It's most people don't realize how hard it is to make a show like this, but Casper, and English is not his first language, but you would never know, because he always knew his lines. I'll just give you a little praise. He's a really good actor, and he was completely present the whole time in a really hard role that, I didn't understand half of how he did what he did. But he's a great guy to have on your team. So
thank you very much.
Yeah, so it's true, actually.
Who is this guy?
I'm Martin Stein.
No, I felt very welcome, and I connected with almost everyone on set. Some more than others. Yeah, almost. There's a few that you don't, no. Yeah, and me and Hawkman just hit it up from day one, and we become like the closest friends. He's attending my wedding in 2 weeks, and it's just
It's become a friendship. First of all, congratulations on your wedding. Good luck. Yeah, I know. Well, we are actually married, and has been married for 8 months, so we have tried it out. Okay, so that's confirmed. I mean, it's kind of working out, but we thought you might make it official. It's just it's more for the party, really.
Gifts.
yeah. Gifts. Yeah.
I have nothing for you.
But kind words, and that's enough. Thank you.
The one thing about Legends that's kind of different from a lot of shows on television is that
There's not just one main cast member, it's actually about 8 to 10. So how kind of different is that to come into?
We've both done film and television and theatre where it's all built up around like a couple of people, but then to build it around 8 or 9, how was that to kind of adapt to or work with?
Well, I'll tell you, it was really difficult, because I'm sure most of you have an idea of how television shows or films are made, but when you have, like on The Flash, you have Grant as the Flash, and Jesse is his father, or his surrogate father, and most scenes have 2 or 3 people, principal people, and so you do a master and you do close-ups, but you have different angles, and it takes, sometimes for 2 pages of dialogue, it can take 5 hours or 6 hours. But on Legends, you have 8 people in every scene. In the first season, the first 2 episodes, the pilot episodes, we were all in every scene. And sometimes I would stand there for 6 hours like this and never say a word. Yeah. And it gets really hard to do. So, and they have to get everybody's close-up and everybody's coverage, and so it takes forever.
Wow. Yeah.
And as time went on, they tried to, in every episode, there's at least 2 scenes where everyone's in them. But then
they started writing last season so that we didn't all have to be there every day for 15 hours, and it's made a big difference, and it's been a lot easier. But it's very difficult to have that many principals in the show. And you can sort of see
the first couple of episodes, we had to find a way, because everyone is just lined up. They had no idea where to place people, so it kind of looked natural. So in the first couple of episodes, all the heroes are just, in every take, they're just lined up and it just looks a little...
The thing about anything is a director can make a huge difference, and when you have a very imaginative director, they can shoot a scene with 8 people where the camera is moving, and people aren't just standing in a line. So you see, it's really it's like a mathematical equation.
It is. It's a choreography.
And we've had a couple of great directors, and
yeah, very much.
That makes a big difference.
Very big difference.
So what we're going to do now, we're going to open
The audience questions after you. So, there's
microphones under spotlights there, rather ominously. So if you'd like to stand behind them and just ask your questions. We've got a gentleman there reaching for the mic already.
Hello.
What are you wearing on your back?
This is like just a casual arrow, so I don't sweat to death today. It's a question for both of you, but Victor,
I don't know if you remember this time last year when we were on DC Fancast, and I remember saying at the time my only take home, because I can't remember where it came from, my only take home was you saying I'm going to be shooting fire out of my ass on Legends. Now, do you two have any favourite quotes or moments from set or the show?
Was that when I was here last time?
This time last year, roughly, we're
Oh, yes. Did I say that?
Yes, you did.
I don't know why, but you did.
Was I drunk?
Yes.
I think we all were.
Might have been.
He's still drunk. Are you drunk?
Favorite, there's so many quote. I can't think of. I never can remember what people have said, but there are a lot of funny people on our show, and a lot of. I mean, Dominic is usually the one who comes up with the funniest lines, not only on the show but off camera. It's just we have a lot of laughs, but I can't regale you with any. Can you think of anything?
No, it's actually really hard because of course you know your lines, but after after you're done, and you kind of you move on. You have to make space for new stuff in your brain because it takes up quite a few things. But I mean, there's a situation where I'm on the spaceship, or Vandal is on the spaceship, fighting the Legends, and he's fighting Captain Cole, and he's like, I'm like ruler of the worlds or something, and he says, I'm robber of ATMs. I think that's a really good.
Who said that?
I can't remember his name. Wentworth something.
Oh.
He's on this prison thing. I don't know.
So we basically didn't answer your question.
No, we didn't.
That's all, no.
But it's nice to see you again.
Thank you very much.
It was.
And we go to our next question over here.
So, is there a chance of Legends of Tomorrow getting full 23 episodes?
You know, the reason it started out, it was always planned as a limited series. So when we went the first season, we all thought it was going to be like 13, because it's such a big show, and everybody, it just takes. We thought it was going to be 13 episodes, and then the first season was 16, and then so the answer to your question is I don't think they're planning to do 22, but they could. So the answer is we don't know, but
It's really up to you guys.
yeah.
I mean, how many people are watching it? That's it's figures and numbers, and they go like, so if there's enough audience, we'll totally do 24.
But I think personally, it's better to keep it shorter.
Me too.
Because I think sometimes when a show stretches out, it loses some of its, excitement and some of its originality. And so I vote for 13 episodes.
Really?
Yeah, because I think that if you watch some of the best shows on Netflix and some of the new shows, they're concise and they have a beginning, middle, and a wrap up. And I think that it's very hard to extend past that number.
It's true.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And we go to a question over this side.
So, for Victor, what was it like learning that
Your character was going to have a daughter in the second season of Legends.
I was very happy about that because I thought it was I'm looking, my interest in the show is more about what happens person to person rather than all the pyrotechnics. I like the interaction between the people, and then when they cast this actress and I met her and we worked together, I'm really hoping she's in a lot of the third season because I think she's great. And did you enjoy that?
Yes, it was really fun
To see the different interpretation of sort of Martin character.
Yes. Good, because that's fun to play for me because then it gives me something else to, you know, it's a different kind of requirement. And I'm not just spouting forth, you know, physicist jargon that I don't understand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we go to our lady here.
Oh, hi. These are two questions for Victor. Did you ever think Titanic would be as successful as it has been because it's celebrating the 20th anniversary this year?
No, I didn't. And I can tell you honestly, when we were making it, there were a lot of jokes about how this was going to sink like the ship did, and the other joke was it was going to be Waterworld 2, and Waterworld was I don't know if you're too young to remember, but it was a disastrous, expensive water movie, and my friend John, who is one of my closest friends, went to a screening of Titanic, and he literally said to me, he said, "I have good news and bad news for you." He said, "The good news is you're very good in the movie. The bad news is no one is going to see this." He was wrong.
Well, it's one of my favorite films.
Yes, I'm glad. Thank you.
One of the second question is you were in the Wines Club. What was it like working with Bette Midler and Diane Keaton and Goldie Hawn?
Well, it was. I was very nervous when I walked on the set. I knew Goldie personally because we had mutual friends. Not well, but I knew her, you know, to say hello at parties and stuff. And but I had so much fun on that movie, playing cad that I played, and working with Goldie, who really was. My scenes were with her, and she was a blast. She was really easy, really fun. And it turned out to be a really good time, and actually everyone got along on that movie, which is, you might have thought otherwise, but it was a very happy set.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thanks.
And we go to this young man over here.
Is it hard to work so closely to other actors?
Well, you answer that, and be nice to me. That's not a difficult question.
No, it's not hard, because it's, of course you connect better with some people. But the art of acting is acting. So the people you don't connect that well with, you can just add a little extra of your craft between takes.
Can I just stop you 1 second?
I find it, but on this production, there was no problem at all.
Yeah. Whoa. You are on thin ice.
I do not find it difficult to work with other people, but maybe they find it difficult to work with me.
Well, yeah. Listen, the whole point, the whole thing about acting is the only way you actually can be good is if the other person, if you are...
It's like playing tennis.
You have to be able to listen to what they're saying and respond to what they're saying.
Yeah.
And the only time it's really bad is when somebody's not doing that in the scene. And you can see that. I'm sure you've seen that in movies where you think, well, that didn't make much sense, or that I didn't feel anything, I didn't believe that. But most actors that I think on our show, all of them actually, are very accomplished, and I feel like everybody just gets better as the season went along. We just got more comfortable with each other. But you have to have a trust. It's like when you're playing a game of, a sport in sports. If you play football or rugby or whatever you play here, it's rugby, I think it is. Or baseball, or you have to have a trust with your teammates, and acting is very much like that.
And we got question on this side.
My first question is, what time period?
Would you most want to see next?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What time period would you like to see next?
Oh, where? Oh, hi. I couldn't see where the sound was coming from.
I want to be a
pirate. A pirate?
Yeah.
Good. I'll be in the ship if you want me. I mean, on the spaceship.
I don't know what time period that is. Is that like 1700s or something? I don't know. When piracy was a thing. It still is, but...
I thought you wanted a sword and...
Yeah, I wanted a sword and, sail in a wooden lake and all that stuff. That'd be really cool. Or Viking. Maybe I should be on Vikings.
Wow, you actually have ideas about what
ideas.
I have no... I just wait till I get the script and they tell me where I'm going. Like what period I'm in, and I say, what do I have to wear in this one? That's I whine a lot on my show. Like, what are the shoes like? How do I, but when I finally, we have a great costume designer, and I loved going back to the 60s because I remember them, and I lived them. So that was really fun for me, and that was the most fun I had on the show. And I don't really, I'm a little nervous about season that we're entering because I think we just landed, in a dinosaur world, and that scares me. Because what will I be wearing?
You'll be riding a dinosaur.
No.
I'm sure of it.
So we'll go to our next question for young lady over here on your left.
Hiya, this is a question for both of you. I'm wondering, do you either have a process to get into your character, like for instance, Vandal Savage, or such an evil villain, and sorry. And Victor, for your previous characters in Alias, like Jack Bristow, who's a very stern and serious character, how do you guys get into that mindset, considering you guys are such opposites in real life?
I think it's easier to I prepare, of course, and I spend a lot of time of rehearsing and learning my lines since American or English is not my first language, so that, I get the words down. But how do I prepare of being evil? I really do not prepare. I do watch the news. Because I kind of see Vandal as a modern politician, in a way. He thinks he's doing the right thing, and he's really not. So I think I just get inspired from stuff like that, news, and I go online. I do have a wall in my office with pictures that inspire me, and it can be everything from just a color to a car to a scenery to a situation to everything, but that's all in like pre-process. But when I come on set, I'm just in the now. I think I'm just I don't know, experimenting, and I'm trying to think what a guy of his mindset would do. I'm just trying to. It's hard to, and I just turn it on and off. I guess it's easier to do a character that's far from yourself, I think, because you have that distance and you have a contrast to what not to do and what to do. And it looks more difficult from the outside, but I think it's more difficult as an actor to play a character that's very, very, very close to yourself. It always looks more, and that's the thing about the Oscars. Let's say the Oscars. The Oscars always goes to the people that, put themselves out there and dress up and play like, if they're straight guys, they play homosexuals, or, if they're models, they play drug addicts or something. And people are like, oh, that's amazing. Wow, what a transition. And I kind of get it, but for me, it's much easier. It's a much easier process for an actor to do that than to just move, this far from who you really are, because people would think that, oh, that looks easy. That's just him. Let's say DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street. That was one of his best performances, I think, but he got his award, drowning in water and getting eaten by a bear. That's not difficult. That's not hard to do. That's just reacting to environment. That's not, so I don't know. How do I prepare? I don't know. I just imagine.
Yeah, I think imagine is exactly the word. Every role you play is determined, or how you act it is determined by how it's written. For me, it's all, and if the writing is good, you don't really have to work as hard as you do if the writing isn't good.
True.
And you have to make the writing come alive. But the fact is, it's just, you always bring a part of yourself to every role, and you're just in extraordinary circumstances. So it's just as Casper says, it's the imagination coupled with, if this, you have to believe that this is what is actually happening.
Yeah.
And you have to have, hopefully, the actors with you that are, the stakes usually have to be higher than you think, because that's what makes drama exciting, and that's why you're watching it on your television screen or your movies, because it's an escape for us. That's, I think, why this genre is so successful, because it's a fantasy. It takes us out of our whatever troubles we're going through in our life. And so it's really just about believing the circumstances you're in.
True.
Which is easier said than done.
And then I think another key thing is to really take responsibility for your character. I can read the lines of Vandal Savage, and I'm like, nobody would ever do this. And there I would fail if that was my, mindset going into work. I have to believe that this is true, and he could do this, and I have to take responsibility for his actions. And if I don't do that, if an actor doesn't do that, it's not working out. Then they're pretending. And we are pretending, of course, but you gotta act truthfully under imaginary circumstances. That's basically what it's all about.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we have a question from someone over here.
Hi, you do these
Conventions all over the world and meet so many people and see so many faces. Have there been any times where fans have made it too close?
Have been what?
close, like made you uncomfortable in any sort of way?
Well, about an hour ago. No, kidding. For me, this is actually the first one I've done like this. I've had a really wonderful time. And the best part about it, and I was talking to Catherine Tate, who I didn't know, but I met her today, and she's lovely. And I said, what has struck me about this situation is I am really humbled by you coming up to me and saying, this show means a lot, or this part meant a lot, or this, you've done something that has affected me. That means more to me than, and it also, it makes me feel like it's worth doing what I do. Because some days I don't know that when I'm in the studio for 15 hours, and I think I'd rather be, baking bread or somewhere. But honestly, the feeling I've had here has renewed my belief that this is important and what I do is meaningful. So that's the majority of my experience. And yes, sometimes people do, they want to be best friends, and I've had people give me their cards, their email, their and their phone numbers, and which is a different thing, but I actually have not experienced that at this event. So thank you all.
Yeah,
just
really.
Lovely.
No, I gotta say, because there's a lot of people in one place, and when I've done more conventions than Victor has, and I have never encouraged anything that was sort of over my limit. There's a lot of people in one place, and but there's a lot of people in other places, and just me being in outside of a convention, let's say, in private, I experience there. I would experience people crossing my lines, I think, because you have a different mindset. I'm here for you, and so I'm ready for, you know, a little extra, I think. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I've had a few people writing to me, you know, personal messaging me, DM messaging me on Instagram, like with death threats and stuff. Cause
Really?
yeah, I did. Cause I fucking hate you so much, man. I'm gonna kill you, motherfucking you, stuff like that. I'm like, okay, it touches you in a way, but you can't do anything about it. And you know, you don't respond to it. You just, it's like, yeah, well, I put something out there. There must be someone that reacts.
I did have one lady in a restaurant. I was having dinner with my friend, and we were talking. This is in Vancouver, where people are supposed to be polite, because we're Canadian. And this woman literally sat down in the chair next and said, I don't mean to interrupt. I said, well, you are. And she had a lot of, but she was just drunk. But people do have that sense of familiarity sometimes, and that can be uncomfortable. But basically,
no.
I've never had a death threat, but I don't read things about myself, so maybe I have.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Go to the lady here.
Hi. First of all, I love the musical episode.
Flash musical album you're singing and very good, amazing.
Thank you.
Would you consider like doing a musical episode only Legends or Legends Era?
I think it would be a terrible idea, but I'm sure because of the success of the Flash episode. But though I mean, Jesse Martin and Grant Gustin and Melissa Benoist, they're all musical stars. I mean, I saw Jesse Martin in Rent, the first thing I ever saw him do, singing and dancing, and Grant, was on Glee. I'm sure you know all of this. And these people were real. John Barrowman, my God, he's one of the most talented singers and show people I've ever met. So it was all focused around them, and they just threw me in that because I had no reason to be on that show, because they wanted to have that trio of that song, and I was thrilled to be a part of it. But I think that you have to
be really careful about these musical things, because I think they can.
I don't think Legends of Tomorrow will ever. I don't want to be a part of that one. But it's a theory, but I think it's very difficult to pull off.
Thank you.
And you also got to do some musical work when you did Eli Stone as well, and particularly you did some work with George Michael.
Yes.
What was that like? That must have been for an artist.
Every time I think about that, I think, did that really happen? I feel like I dreamt that, but yes. Well, that was Greg Berlanti, who is, a musical fiend. And by the way, that song, More I Cannot Wish You, that we did on The Flash, is his favorite song. He loved that song. So they somehow figured out a way to put that in the show, and I think brilliantly. But Eli Stone was a musical show. It was before all of those musical shows, and I think, frankly, it deserved more time to catch on than it received. But George Michael came on the show. The whole show was every episode was a George Michael title from his album, and then he agreed to do it, and I sang with him. I still can't believe I did that.
Sang with George Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I sang along with him, and he was so lovely and so brilliantly talented, and such a huge loss. But that was an exciting, unbelievable time. It's when I used to sing more too. I was more, I don't sing as much as I used to.
But fingers crossed you will in the future, I'm sure, hopefully.
Oh, thanks.
And so we're going to move over to this young lady.
What is your favorite
It's hard to say, because I think there's a lot of great scenes, and I really try to enjoy every scene. Really, I really enjoyed the scene that we had together. I can't remember the number of the episode, but it's called River of Time, where Vandal is contained on the ship, and all the heroes, they come down, and he sort of manipulates them from his incarceration, and I think we had a really good scene there. might not be the best one, but you had a really good one. I enjoyed the 50s, actually, the episode with the 50s that Joe Dante did. That was really, for me, because it was different. And I like the time period, wearing a suit and, you know, the nice cars and the aesthetic of the 50s. I really enjoyed that. But I guess my favorite scene was the scene I had with myself in episode, 15, 16, where I actually get to act in front of someone that I can act with. It's all bullshit.
Kind of.
Right? Yeah, kind of.
I don't have a favorite scene, but I've had moments that, you know, I did have a scene with Franz on the Civil War episode where he was, you know, where we were talking about his past and and what it was like to and I was sort of, you know, talking about as a Jewish person and what it felt like, and he was saying, you know, you can't compare these things, and it was a really difficult scene, and I thought, I don't know if people are going to really go for this, but there have been a couple of moments like that on the show that I thought we were almost crossing a line, but it's always, that's the most exciting for me. It's when it's about anything that is really dealing with deep emotional truths or dilemmas. That's exciting for me, and I love that.
Thank you.
And we got a question over this side.
Sure.
Hi, I've got like a two-part That's for either.
Yeah. It's hard to say. It really is hard to say. I think the idea, I get starstruck about the idea that I had to work, let's say, with Victor or when.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
who wouldn't?
well, he's here. I have to mention. No, but you know, the idea when I knew who the cast members were, I was like, oh, Wentworth Miller, Victor Garber, blah blah blah. So the thought about it gets me starstruck. But then I go to work.
And it becomes normal.
You meet people. They're people, and we're there
for the same thing. And we just try to solve this
thing. This is work. It's a craft. So the minute you just, you know, you shake hands, it just all disappears.
It disappears. It's like, well, like even George Michael, when I worked with him, you know, at the beginning, although I never really, I was starstruck. I was a little starstruck. But you know, he's like in a different, he was in a different category. But actors, Casper's right. The minute you are doing the scene, you know, you're just doing the scene. You know, and I mean, I remember on Titanic, you know, the boat movie. It was so. Everybody was. We were all working these long hours at nights and everything, and you never got the sense of. I mean, Leonardo and Kate weren't as big as stars as they, but they was still. I mean, I was certainly aware of who they were, and there was never. Everybody was on the same level, and everybody was just there to make the movie work. So it's rare. I mean, there are people, I don't think that happens so much. Probably less than you would imagine.
And the other half of the question is, do you still keep in contact with, like,
I talk with Leonardo all the time.
And I wasn't even on the ship.
Please give him my love.
Yeah, I will. I'll send. Oh yeah. I'll send him your best.
I don't. I mean, Kate, I've seen on occasion over the years, and whenever I see Leonardo, it's like at a function which is rarely. He's incredibly warm and sweet, and but no, we're not in touch. You know, I mean, but it's always lovely to see him. And Kate, I did see a bit because she was married short term to a friend of mine, but no, I haven't seen her for a long time.
It's difficult in this business because you work together with these amazing people all the time. If you're privileged to work, and you on every production, I'm like, all right, we got to keep in touch. We gotta do stuff. We gotta keep this friendship going, and it rarely happens.
Right.
Because you're on to the next job and you meet these new incredible people and you're just rushed in this whole situation. Like, it's kind of you just get very close to people in a very short time. It's not like meeting people in the real world. Like, it's like, you take your time, you make a few phone calls, you call each other, you want to go out, you want to hang out, blah, blah, blah. Here it's like, so you're working together with this guy for the next 6 months, like him. You're like, okay, we better make this work. And it works, and you connect, but afterwards, it kind of, we don't call each other or anything, but we're still friends, we're still connected, and I'm still very connected with Falk Henschel, who plays Hawkman. Talk with him regularly, and we hang out, and Arthur as well, but usually, these things just sort of, but then when you meet again, you just start
right where you were.
Right where you were. There are two sides of it, because it's a beautiful thing, but it can be frustrating at sometimes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is in fact the last question. We've run out of time.
Wow, that went fast.
It really did.
As they say, time flies when you're having fun. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give a massive round of applause to the brilliant Victor Garber and Casper Crump.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
And both of those will be signing, both the gentlemen will be signing this afternoon if you wish to go along and chat some more to them.
Thanks, guys.